Welcome back to another episode of Crappy Cooking Videos with Rob, your culinary arts instructor at Kugasaki High School, shown here. So, part of the assignment for this week was to make something involving beans or legumes. Now, I could go with something a little more traditional like chili or some refried beans to go on a taco or something like that, but I thought I would try something different. A while back, a couple of my students, we were looking up a recipe for hummus and we came across chocolate hummus. Yes, you heard that right, chocolate, as in dessert. So right now I have laid out all my mise for this. The nice thing about hummus is it's really quick to put together other than the mise en place being scaled out. So I've got my blender over here, to which I'm going to add a crap ton of sugar. Alright, this sugar comes in the form of honey, as well as some raw Okinawan brown sugar, because that's what I had. The original recipe, which I will link, called for coconut sugar, but I didn't happen to have any. So I used the raw Okinawan sugar instead, because we happen to have that on hand and we like it a lot. So we've got our sugar going in there. Now, anytime you're dealing with a blender, you want to make sure that you get your liquid in fairly early. That way it gives it plenty of stuff so the blender blades can move around and it doesn't get bogged down. Also notice the pain in the butt that it is to try and get things like honey out of my little mise container, which happens to be C3PO. So now that I got that in there, I've got my liquid. Now the recipe only calls for a tiny amount of liquid. It only calls for a couple tablespoons of almond milk and then some vanilla extract. So that's going in next. So that's all the liquid ingredients I've got. Now, semi-liquid, I've got some raw peanut butter, or some, not raw, excuse me, some natural peanut butter here, which is why it looks a little oily and separated. Trying to use that up out of the cabinet. Got it so my daughter could try. She's not a fan. So, gonna use that in there. Get that blended up. See if I can get all that out of there. Yep, notice R2. And then, because it said it's a chocolate hummus, I've gotten here two of the ingredients. It called for a bit of salt, because you always want to have a little salt in there to balance the sweet. And it calls for cocoa powder. In this case, it's a dark cocoa powder coming out of BB-8. Last ingredient I have is my beans, my legumes. In this case, I'm using just 1 can of garbanzo beans, aka chickpeas. Ha! Brain fart. So, got a can of chickpeas over here. That's going in. And now, put it on our blender motor. Lid piece goes on, so we don't accidentally get our fingers in there. Because the Vitamix has a little plunger thingy, gotta make sure to have that handy. And then we're going to blend. Start off on low, if you have the option. That way you can kind of get it started, get it going. Then you can slowly increase the speed so that hopefully it all comes together and gives you a nice, beautiful, homogeneous mass. Now, as often happens when you have something that's going to be as thick as this, wow, that is seriously like dark, thick looking goo. As often happens in a case like this, you probably need to scrape down the blender part way to make sure that you are making a mess all over your countertop. Okay, because that's what we need to make sure we do. We need to make sure we have a mess all over the countertop, making it that much more difficult to clean up afterward. Now, this called for a crap ton of sugar in it. So hopefully that's going to equate to something that's tasty. The problem with it is, while yes, it calls for a crap ton of sugar, it also has 3 tablespoons worth of cocoa powder in it. And cocoa powder, for any of you who did the same mistake that most of us do as kids, is not the same as like hot cocoa mix. So it is definitely bitter, it has definitely got a bit of a bite to it, and hopefully the amount of sugar that's in this will balance, and it will make this nice and yummy. Alright, blender's going back on, making noise. Alright. Now, See what it looks like. It looks kind of like chocolate paste. Huh. This could be interesting. Not sure how I'm feeling about it. Looks very dark, very chocolatey. Tastes very dark, very chocolatey. Interesting. So at this point, the hummus is done. You can see. It is very, very thick. It is very, very dark because I used a dark chocolate cocoa powder. And I gotta say, it is surprisingly tasty. I would never have thought that chocolate hummus would actually be good. But it kind of works. I kind of dig it. So hey, something for you to try if you get bored one day. All right, see you next time.